Okay, so I'm going to be showing you the makeup that we're planning on doing for Silver Bullets 2018-2019 performance makeup for competitions. And a lot of this stuff is going to be optional. The only mandatory stuff is just the bare minimum, and I'll let you know throughout the video which stuff is mandatory and which stuff is optional. So I already have my hair in right now, and I'd suggest that you do the hair first, in my opinion. That way it gets it out of your face so you're ready for makeup. So this is optional, but I like it a lot for my makeup. It's just some priming spray. You can use like a primer or a spray, but it's optional, so you don't have to use it. So I'm just gonna do a few spritz of that. Let it dry out a little bit. And then what I'm gonna be doing is using foundation. So foundation is required, whether it's powder or liquid foundation. It'll just help you not look so washed out on stage. So I'm just gonna be using this liquid foundation. And what I like to use for all of my makeup is a beauty blender. It's optional as well, but I just find that it just makes everything a lot faster and a lot easier. So what I'm gonna be doing is just putting some foundation on my hand right here. It's like a few pumps. I'm just going to spread it across my face. All right, and then I am going to be blending it in with my beauty blender. And make sure to just try to spread it everywhere on your face and even down your neck a little bit, just so everything looks nice and blended. And I even put some on my eyes to help set a nice base for my eyeshadow. And overall, this makeup is gonna be very natural. The only thing that's gonna be bold is we're gonna have a bold lip, and we're gonna have a little bit of a shimmer right here at the end, so. Alrighty, so that is my foundation. And then after foundation, I usually do concealer. This is also optional. So I put it just a little bit in the places that I wanna brighten up a tad. A little bit this way, right here, and then over any blemishes that I want to cover. Which your girls probably won't have to worry about that, but. And so that's really it for concealer. You can just dab it anywhere you have a dark spot or anything like that, but it is optional as well. And then the next thing that I usually like to do is contour and bronzer. Now, these are both optional as well, but they are highly recommended just because the bronzer will really help warm up your face a little bit and not make it look like a ghost, all one shade, which will be really important on stage because the stage lights are very bright. I'm going to dip in with a pretty fluffy brush. I'm just gonna put that in the places that I normally put bronzer, which is right under my cheekbones, a little bit under my jawline, and just kind of around my face. Just in any place where the sun would naturally hit your face. So a little bit on the temples. And I like to do just a little bit on the nose. Little sun-kissed nose right here. And I'm just using this little palette I have that has highlighter, bronzer, and contour, but you don't have to get a palette or anything if you just want to use bronzer. There are just bronzers available. If you don't want to use anything, you don't have to, but it is pretty recommended throughout the cheer world. All right. And then after I do that, you can do a little bit of contour if you want to, you know, just to go all out. So I'll do a little bit of that to show you guys. It's optional as well. But what you'll do is you just put it right under your cheekbone. Really tap it out here. And really blend it in. I'm just kind of using a little angled brush for this. Nothing too specific. And then I'm going to blend it out a little bit more with my fluffy brush. Alrighty, so that's what my contour and bronzer looks like. And I'll do it on this side. And just make sure it's nice and blended out with everything else as well. I like to do a little bit on my temples, just a little bit. And a little bit on the side of my nose. So that's what all of that looks like. So that's mainly the base, and most of that is optional. The only thing that we would really like you to have, which is required, would be foundation in the whole base situation. And then you can set all of that using a powder if you want to. I'm just dipping into this little thing right here. And that'll just help, if you're using liquid stuff, that'll just help make sure nothing moves around. Make sure to blend everything down your neck so it looks nice and blended. Okay, so the next thing is eyes. So these are also required, just because in cheer you want everybody's makeup to look the same, and a big part of that is your eyelids. So what I like to do is, you can buy an eyeshadow primer, which is optional, or you can use concealer, which is what I usually use because it works basically the same. This is optional, but I like to put a little bit of concealer there, because I have very veiny eyelids, and the eyeshadow doesn't show up as well if I don't put concealer on first, because it just helps have a nice even base. And it helps the eyeshadow stay longer because it gives the eyeshadow something to kind of stick onto. So I just blend that out on my eyelid right there. And that just gives it a much more even base and a much more plain base so that the eyeshadow can really pop. And we're not doing much with the eyeshadow. We're doing a very natural eye look, so browns and stuff like that. And I will show you what we are doing. We're going to do a brown smoky eye, which sounds kind of complicated, but it's really not at all. What you are going to do is take kind of a fluffy brush. I just have this one from a little drugstore brand, but it's a fluffy brush like that. And I'm dipping into just kind of a neutral shade. It's this shade right here, and it looks a lot brighter on camera, but it just kind of matches my skin tone, but it's a little bit more brown than my skin tone. And what I'm going to do there is I'm going to blend it out. And it's called a transition shade. It'll help everything transition nice in the eye look. All right, and then I'm going to do that with the other eye. So I'm really just kind of blending that all over my eyelid and through the crease, just kind of everywhere, not very exact at all. And then after I do my transition shade, what I'm going to be doing is I am just going to dip into a little bit darker shade. I'm going to be using this brown shade right here, right there. And it's not very dark at all. It looks like that. And it's kind of a reddish brown, but really just a brown color. What I'm going to be doing with that is I'm going to dip into it, tap off the excess with my brush, and we're going to be moving that through the crease right here. So really just all throughout the crease. So we're going to go that. Move that all throughout the crease. So that is what it will look like. So right now you have a little bit darker shade throughout the crease and just the normal part on the lid. I'm going to do the same exact thing on the other side. Alrighty. And I'm by no means a professional, but this is just the look we're going to be doing for our girls, and we want to make sure they know how to do it. And then the last thing that I would really do in this look is take that transition shade that we started out with and go one more time over everything. Tap off the excess, go one more time over all of the shadows, really blend them together nicely. Do the same thing on both sides. It'll just help make the look a lot more even. And then after that, we're going to be dipping into a shimmery shade to put right on the lid, have a little bit of pop to the look. So what I'm going to be using is this shade right here. It's not quite gold. It's more of like a champagne color, if you can see that right there. So it's not as gold as this color, but it's kind of gold, kind of whitish tan. And I'm just going to be taking a flatter brush, and I'm going to pop that right on my lid. Just really press it onto your eyelid. And that'll just add a little bit more pizzazz to an otherwise very simple look. Alrighty, so you see that? And then I'll do the same exact thing on the other side. So mainly focus on the inside of your eye and right on the center of the lid. So, and what I like to do is just pat it on, because it tends to stay better than if I sweep it on. So we have that near the center of the eye and then on the top of the lid. And then you can take an even just a little bit of a lighter color. So what I'm gonna do is take this color right here. See, it's almost white, not quite, still kind of a champagne color, but it is almost white. And we're gonna pop that right on the inside corner right here, and it's just gonna make the whole eye look pop. So place that right on the inside corner of the eye, also known as the tear duct, just like that. And you can also bring it a little bit out here. You do that on both sides. So it's like a champagne color, but just a tad lighter, just like that. And I like to blend it out just a little bit to really make it kind of come together. And then what I'm gonna do is take that transition shade one more time and blend everything together. Don't take too much of the transition shade, but it will help blend everything. And don't focus too much on the sparkly part, mainly on the shadows that we started with, like that. Same thing over here. And that's pretty much it for the eyes. And another thing that you might want to do, it's completely optional, but I like to do this just a little bit. So you're going to take that shade that we took in the crease of our eye, and you can take it barely down, just kind of blend it into the bottom lash line, and it'll just help the eye look pop a little bit. So I'm gonna take a more flat brush because the fluffy brush is too big. Just gonna blend that down and then up into what we did earlier. Like I said, that is completely optional, but helps the eye look pop just a little bit more. Just like that. So that is basically it for the eye look. And to finish that up, we're going to use mascara, which is also required. You only have to put it on the top lash line. Don't worry about the lower lash line if you don't really like mascara there, because personally I don't love to put mascara on the lower lash line, but if you like it, then you can definitely do that. So I'm just going to put mascara on my other eye. Alrighty, and there's the eyes for you. So I just have the transition shades. All the things we did was transition shade all over the eye, the crease shade, and then the shimmer on the eyelid near the corner, and then that lighter shade right in the corner. And that is it for the eye look. And those are all brown tones, and make sure they are brown tones because everybody has to match. Alrighty. So now that we're done with eyes, eyebrows are definitely optional. The only thing I like to do with mine, just because mine are very dark, I like to shape them just a little bit. So I like to brush mine out. But your girls definitely do not have to worry about eyebrows. They're completely optional. And then after that, I'm just gonna pop on a little bit of blush, which is mandatory, because you don't want to look like a ghost on stage. You gotta have a little bit of color. And I'm just using this peachy shade. It has a little bit of a shimmer in it, not much at all. So I'm gonna put that on too. It's not as fluffy as my other fluffy brush, but it's still pretty fluffy. I just like to dot that on the apples of my cheeks and throughout my whole cheek, just to brighten up my face a little bit. Same on this side. But you don't want it to be in just like a circle or a line or anything, because it's supposed to look very natural. And then I also like to put just a little bit on the tip of my nose to make it look a little bit more natural and a little bit more even throughout the whole face. And I don't dip it back in my palette at all, but I just put a little bit of remnants on my forehead and my chin, just to make sure everything is nice and even. And see, that just brightens up the face a little bit, and the blush is mandatory. And then after the blush, I do highlighter. And highlighter is not mandatory, but I like to use highlighter in all of my looks just because it helps your makeup pop. So I'm just gonna put that right down the center of my nose. Oh, and mine looks like this, kind of a champagne color. Little bit on my forehead and a little bit on my chin and a little bit on my Cupid's bow. And a little bit on right above the cheekbone. Bring that kind of out and up. Same with the other side. I like to use my fingers just because it makes a lot more natural look on that there. Just blends everything together very nicely. So that's it for the eyes and the face stuff. And then what we are going to do after that is the lips. And these are mandatory as well. So we are using this Flower brand. And it is kind of like a purpley pinky shade. And it is a big pop of color because that's what the main focus of this eye look is the lips, because everything else is very natural. So you'll just take this and put on your lipstick. And this is a liquid lipstick, but it dries matte, which is very important because if it doesn't dry matte, then it'll get all over the girls' uniforms. And make sure not to go very fast with this part because it's not very easy to get off and not mess up the rest of your makeup. Just take this nice and slow. Alrighty, so there are the lips. And then one more thing I almost forgot. So we have this Stila glitter that we are going to put on all the girls. It's kind of like a mixture between blue and purple, if you can see the sparkle there. And you don't have to buy this. We are buying this. And all it looks like is this, and it's literally just like blue and purple sparkles that we're gonna put on the side of their face, and it'll just help make the whole look pop. Okay, this is the overall look. So we have the hair, the Dutch braided pigtails, and then the makeup, and I gave a tutorial for that. And the main things that are mandatory for the makeup, I forgot a few things in the video, but mascara, eyeshadow, foundation, blush, and lips are the mandatory things for the makeup, and everything else is optional, but just have fun with it. So.